Welcome to Project. Welcome to Project Generous Heart, PGH, or Project for short. Today, we'll discuss the process involved as a member of Project, or stepping on as an angel on Project. This presentation is segmented into 5 parts and is entitled The Lotus of Our Unfolding. We'll discuss, what does that mean? How does it happen? Who should know? Why should you care? And a call to action. Well, first, what does that even mean? Well, to unfold means to open or spread out from a folded position. And to evolve means to develop gradually, especially from a simple to a more complex form. And how does that relate to you? Well, when you chose to step onto Project Generous Heart, PGH, you made a vow to yourself that who you are now has to change. You had to evolve for whatever reason. Tab 8 in our manual contains our vows and declaration statement sheet, the promise, the pledge, and the personal commitment that we made. Your vow was to you to achieve the goal of reclaiming your power to consciously create your life. Your vow was to take charge of your existence and refuse to let life take charge of you. Your declaration statement has 31 statements, which you signed. Now, how does it happen? Well, to focus on your end game and make it a priority. That's how it happens. But that's easier said than done. Think of yourself as a lotus flower. Well, do you know what a lotus flower looks like? Here's an image. Well, why the lotus and not a rose? Well, the lotus flower is associated with rebirth. At night, the lotus retracts into the water and emerges fresh for the sun the next day. And for that reason, the Egyptians used the lotus as a symbol of sun and creation. The lotus flower, they come in different colors. The red, the purple, and the blue are seen as spiritual symbols of enlightenment and rebirth. Meanwhile, the white and the pink symbolize spiritual purity. Its petals open one by one, and this flower will only grow in the mud. Symbolic of us angels rising out of the mud. Same with the lotus flowers. The obstacles and the traumas of life to consciously create our lives. Consciously seeking the truth of who we are. Consciously walking the 7 pathways to shed our lead. Consciously. The 7 cycles lead us to the truth. The number 7, by the way, spiritually means seeker of truth. So how do we do that in 7 cycles? Well, each cycle is dominated by a mineral: lead, tin, iron, copper, mercury, silver, gold. The culture of our club, not Boy George's culture club, but PGH's culture is described on page 5 of our manuals, and it unfolds us through the 7 cycles. Cycle 1 is the action cycle, and that's dominated by lead. Cycle 2 is the foundation cycle, and that's dominated by tin. Cycle 3 is the building cycle, and that's dominated by iron. Whereas cycle 4 is the growth cycle, and that's dominated by copper. Cycle 5 is the momentum cycle, and that's dominated by Mercury. Cycle 6, the thriving cycle, and that's dominated by Silver. And last but not least, cycle 7, it's the wealth foundation cycle, and that's dominated by Gold. But the first choice that we made was to request to sit in one of the 8 seats at the table. Yeah, we did that. That's why we're here. And that's why you should know. That's why we should know. That's why others should know. We were broken, and we're shedding our broken pieces one by one, just like the lotus flower. And just like the lotus, we grow through the obstacles and traumas of life, the mud, the ancestral bondage, the broken panes of glass that shield us. Just like the lotus, we are evolving and unfolding layer by layer. Just like the lotus, we are of different colors, different hues. Many of us are walking about aimlessly seeking our truth of unfolding, our truth of evolution. But are we ready for this? I mean, this is simple, but it's not easy. Shedding lead, who can't do that? Well, first, do you know what lead is? Lead is the first metal studied, and it's dominated by the planet Saturn. It's heavy, it's dull, it's morose, and the planet Saturn brings to life the heavy responsibilities, the hard work, and the melancholy disposition. Many of our world's ills, diseases, sorrows, and losses, obstacles, poverties, disappointments, they're all due to lead's influence. But we need it. Because of its presence, we know restraint, we know sympathy, and we know logic. The woman who you were before you came here is still mirrored out there. The woman who has issues with family because the woman who has issues with herself and knows not why. The woman who develops relationships that are not sustainable while longing for fulfillment. The woman who doesn't know her own strength and resilience and constantly looks to others for validation. That woman should know that just like the lotus flower, she can unfold. Just like the lotus flower, she can shed her lead. We're so used to Darwin and the survival of the fittest that we negate the fact that unity is strength. We forget that togetherness means a greater gain for our mission here on earth. We forget that when we work together towards a common good to make a better world together, we really gain. And doing this means we not only see the beauty in our sister, we also mirror her elegance. We develop our characters. We unfold. Shirley Chisholm said, "Service is the rent that you pay for your time here on earth." But even more, once we embrace how interrelated and interdependent we are, then we know that we're not our sister's keeper. We are our sister. So helping another woman through her lead, her obstacles, her mud, is our service to ourselves. For that reason alone, you should care. It's described in our manual on page 22. Cycle 1, action led, describes cycle 1 as the space where reciprocity and generosity begin through learning how to receive unconditionally from other angels with open arms, and how to expand our capacity for our spiritual versus our humanity. We learn commitment, focus, communication, accountability as some of the 54 attributes. We learn to be accountable to ourselves so that others respect our reliability. We learn communication with ourselves so that we become better listeners who show more compassion to our fellow sister. We learn commitment to ourselves so that we develop more confidence in our choices to make us more joyful. We learn focus on ourselves so that we're not tired and sick all the time from doing too much at once for too many and not knowing how to say no because we're so conditioned to do as Superwoman. We should care because we're seeking truth and wanted to mark our place in the world as feminine leaders. We signed the vows and declaration statement sheet with 31 statements. Vow tab 8. We vowed to take charge of our existence and refuse to let life take charge of us, to focus and commit to our end game and make it a priority. We volunteer to experience this human existence to make worlds better, and we were promised that all the tools we needed would be at our disposal if we just ask. We are fearless warriors, but somehow we forgot. Somehow we allowed life to take charge of our existence, our experience. Just like we volunteered to step onto this human existence as spirits to make worlds better, we promised to shed our lead. We promised to learn how to reclaim my power to consciously create my life. Just like the lotus, we too have the ability to rise from the mud, to bloom out of the darkness and radiate into the world. Our matriarch, Harriet Tubman, said, "I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves." Who will you help? You should care because you promised. Now, our call to action is for you to state 3 ways that you've changed since being on project, and to state 3 women who would benefit from shedding her lead. Who can you free from the mud?